Hello YouTube! So today I want to talk about power creep again, but with a different perspective. The last time I did talk about power creep, I was focused on the game, in that case Genshin Impact, and gave a perspective that was from a player that is inside the game and trying to understand challenges, realizing that there are obstacles to overcome those challenges. But I have a very new perspective about it, and I think power creep can have its advantages. So let's see why I think about it like that and what changed in my point of view. So first of all, let's review the point of view I had in the past, right here. In all honesty, this guy has an amount of HP that's crazy high. He's one of my best teams, if not my best team. And as you can see, I'm still at 30% HP with 8 minutes left. So here the frustration was I wasn't able to complete the boss, which actually probably requires a different strategy, in the allotted time to get the most rewards on the last floor of the spiral, which is the final challenge in Genshin Impact. But anyways, yeah, it's like the highest difficulty you can play the game on. It's a time trial with HP sponges in the end. It's nothing hard actually. But you need to create the effective team for the challenge that can actually be able to clear it. The meta shifts and you need to adapt with it. But the point is, do you really need to do that? And I want to go back to Star Rail to talk about it more, because Star Rail was more criticized than Genshin when it comes to power creep, and many users even review bombed it, right? Which is understandable for some points. When I played Star Rail, I was very much a meta slave. I wanted my characters to be very strong. I decided for the Herta, there's a video about it, you can check it out, and I pulled Lycon, and after that, before that I pulled the Ichu, and then went all the way to E6, spending around 1,500 euros, which is crazy, if I can say so myself. But that wasn't the only thing. I have many Lycons for my main teams, which were my competitive part of the account. I have for my supports. I got all those things in a very short amount of time with a stupid amount of resources, including money. So, how can you play the game healthily, and is really power creep going to screw you while you play the game? When it comes to Finon, you only need 2 Eidolons and Lycon to have the same results as the Herta with Lycon and 6 Eidolons, which means you can have 4 less iterations on a character. So basically 4 more characters for your account for the same results. Also, Finon is more flexible because you can play him on a single target, 3 target, 5 target scenario. It doesn't change much. He's basically a raid boss, can tackle any kind of content that isn't immune to physical damage. Is it really bad for me? This is the character I invested in, now there's a new character that is basically stronger with much less investment. Is it bad for me as a player? I think it's not, and in fact I'm very happy about it, which may sound very strange and would sound very annoying to players that did the same if I didn't invest in any characters, but I did, and I feel very well about it, because this allows me to have new characters that are competitive enough to be ready for endgame if I want to play it, and besides very strong in any content I play, without having to invest in them when it comes to like time, money, saving resources, collecting Eidolons, etc. The fact that this character is much stronger than mine allows me to have a good character right on the table when I pull for it. The problem with this is when power creep hits the Eidolons, maybe Eidolon 6, and to get there you need to invest a stupid amount of resources, and in that case it's probably not something that a healthy player will get. That's the point. But I think that power creep when it comes to Eidolons can be good, because if you ever are able to save up resources for a character you want to be stronger, you don't want to use those resources to have it a little tiny bit stronger. You want it to be very much stronger. In fact, the real problem with power creep is the endgame that becomes harder and harder, because that makes clears very uncomfortable for a normal player. But listen to me, do you really need to get to level 12 endgame to feel you are getting anywhere? Is this part of the endgame, 10, 11, 12, really needed? How many rewards do you have on that part? It's very easy to check. You can see like it's 9 stars, so it's 3, 3, 3 here, So you're going to lose out on these 240 gems, one single pool each time this thing comes up. Losing 1 to 3 pools in a game is completely irrelevant. It's like losing out on a couple days playing. It's nothing. So the real point is players want to complete endgame for the feeling that the game is going well, or well enough. They're doing what they're expected to do. If you're having fun, you should expect to have fun with the games you play. And if the new characters are stronger than your old ones, this means you can have new characters and enjoy them when they come up, because they are useful to you. They would be useless if the old characters you invested in were better. On the contrary, they are going to be useless because the game is advancing to new content and they try to make it relevant. So yeah, it will be harder to complete endgame with the old characters, but at the same time you can plan up your resources a little bit if you want, or just pull for the characters you like, because the new ones will be relevant regardless, because of the power creep. Of course, power creep is not good in general, because a game that doesn't have power creep at all allows you to have your setup you made 5 years ago still works. At the same time, you wouldn't feel any kind of change in the game, and in the long term, you would get bored unless you just grind resources for new characters. In this case, you can build new character and try to complete new endgames when you have the resources, and if you don't really need to do that. So in a way, power creep can be good unless it pushes you to get as many copies as possible of each characters, because you look at them and you say, no, this is even more broken than the previous one, I want this one maxed out as well. That's a bad way to think about it. You can think about it, and of course you should definitely avoid it. I recently pulled for Finon because of the aesthetics, which is crazy. The animation kit is completely insane, but I'm very fine with not having the Eidolons, especially Eidolon 2, that make him deal twice the amount of damage, which is completely crazy, and the Lycon that allows him to deal 30% more damage and overall 3 times the damage if you already have the 2 Eidolons. So I paid my character 1/4 of the total amount, and I still have a character that has insane animation, is strong, and can compete in the endgame, even without incredible optimization. So I think this is surprisingly not unhealthy, and you shouldn't worry too much about it. Yes, power creep will ruin your old characters only when it comes to endgame, but you can still play them in the story if you want. You can play them in more casual endgame content like the simulated universe and such. You don't need to clear everything every time, and I think you can have much fun with any game. And plus, you may need less time invested in a game, because if you go away for like, I don't know, 2 years and then go back, you can have the new characters that will be much stronger than the old ones that you missed out on because you weren't playing the game, and have fun with the game on the spot, because the new characters will be useful for sure. On early Star Rail, there were characters that were very polarizing, like for instance Ruan Mei. Now you can have fun with basically anything you have, because the new characters, especially DPS characters, will come up stronger and stronger. This is my opinion. Let me know what you think about it. This is Neroalas with a new perspective on power creep, signing out.